I'm so excited. This is going to be fun. I'm really excited, guys. Thank you for letting me come on.
Welcome to the Muddied Waters of Freedom with your hosts, Matt Wright and Mohammed Shaker.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to the Vanguard. For Mohammed, I got nothing today. Shaker, I am Matt Wright.
Bro job shaker.
Bro job shaker. I am Matt Wright, and together we are traversing the muddied waters of freedom. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. We have a very special guest on today who's very excited about being on the show.
Too excited.
Too excited. So excited I had to mute him during the intro. We would like everybody to we would like... So excited he keeps laughing even though I can't even get the sound up.
It's all good.
So excited he keeps laughing while I'm trying to turn the sound up on him. Everybody welcome John Lindley to the show.
Hey, John.
Hey, hello. Thank you guys for having me on so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're welcome. John is a very good friend of mine. I met him in the 2015 Young Americans for Liberty National Convention at Catholic University in Washington, D.C. We had a lot of fun for, was it 5 days? It was a 4 or 5 day convention?
So I was there longer because I don't know if you guys remember, well, I don't know if you specifically remember Mike Corey, rest in peace. He was a state chair. So he was there a little bit early.
Weird, I don't. What state? Because I was a state chair.
He was from Iowa.
Okay.
He was a state chair from Iowa.
Wait, so were you a state chair at the time?
I was not a state chair at the time.
Okay.
I had, just got in the Army. I was, I came into Yale. I didn't know a lot about it. But so we all thought Mike would be, the best state chair and everything. He, unfortunately, he died last year.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, that's awful.
We've always talked about at the University of Iowa getting some sort of charity or some sort of scholarship or something like that for him. But
okay.
Yeah, so I was there a little bit longer because I rode with him, and he was one of the state chairs, and they had the state chair stuff going on.
Okay, yeah. So we had 5 fun-filled days at the university. We got to talk to people like Jack Hunter from Rare. We had Matt Kibbe. You remember he stripped he kind of stripped his button up off, and then he had this what was it? It was a Stand With Rand t-shirt.
Oh, nice.
Yes, he did have a Stand With Rand. So it was super funny, actually, that you bring up Matt Kibbe. The next year, obviously,
So last
2016, we have the the races in Iowa. I should know because I'm from Iowa, and that's where we got our name from. Anyway, so I go to my town of 8,000 people and go to the caucuses or whatever, right? I go to my hometown. 8,000 people go to are in my town. There's 160 people that were my graduating class in high school. I walk into my high school to speak for Rand Paul, right? And then Matt Kibbe walks in to talk for Rand Paul. And so, I'm the only person there who's like, holy fuck, you're Matt Kibbe, right? Everybody else is just like...
He opened the floodgates early.
Somebody's going to talk about Rand Paul. And I'm just like, holy fuck, you're Matt Kibbe. Right? Nobody else even has a clue who this guy is. And I'm just still in the corner holy fuck, you're Matt Kibbe. What are you doing in my high school?
Yeah.
Why are you in my high school in Iowa, right?
That's awesome. But yeah, it It was a pretty awesome convention, and we ended it with a really great speaker. I don't remember what episode number it was. He did upload it on his podcast. I think the topic was what we say we are and what the left says we are, and that was Tom Woods.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah,
that's so badass.
Okay, I have extreme views, so I can't don't forgive me, your audience. I personally don't like Tom Woods anymore, but at the time,
mute him.
Yeah, he was great.
I was gonna say I will cut your mic.
Yeah, so yeah, right. So no, but what he said then was he was referencing Basquiat. He was referencing Basquiat's. Was it Man of the State or whatever? Where Basquiat's the socialists think because we say.
Because we're against the public funding of the arts that we are then against the arts.
Yeah, exactly. So Tom Wood said all these things, and they're very eloquent and great things. And unfortunately, in my opinion, like I said, you guys have a different audience possibly than me. I don't know, but what Tom Woods does now is I don't think is all that great, but that stuff he was saying about Basquiat and all that stuff, especially at that conference, it was the first time I'd ever heard of him.
Really?
And it was amazing. Oh yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I was blown away by it. What he was saying I was blown away. But then shortly after that, I went to the Koch Institute, and I had an internship there and everything. And
nice.
I read Basquiat.
You did Kip?
And I read all these authors and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Tom Woods is a great intro to that.
Well, hold your drink. All right, since let's do our.
We need to thank Low Tide Kava Bar.
So sorry, guys.
Yeah, you're good. We need to thank Low Tide Kava Bar for the kava we will be drinking during the show, and to the wonderful people at Alu Ball. I promise that I will do the dishes soon and clean the alu balls you so graciously send us to use on the show.
Yeah, and here we go. We gotta
right.
Wait. What are these balls? I'm not familiar. I'm familiar with kava, but I don't know what about these balls. What are these?
It's
Alu Ball is a company that makes they make at-home kava making. It's an easy way to make.
You know those mixers that we use? You know those mixers?
I know.
Yes.
I'm familiar with kava. I've been familiar with kava since about 2006, and honestly, you guys have been my biggest bringing me back into that scene. So one of the first things when I moved to Arizona, I live in Phoenix now. I looked for a kava bar and stuff like that. And unfortunately there's not one around here.
I was gonna say there's not one out there as far as I know.
Yeah, it's really which is really unfortunate. So you guys have been my biggest my biggest draw into that kava scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Well.
Yeah.
We're gonna do our shells up now.
We're gonna do our shells up, and then we're gonna do a bula, which means to long life and good health. If you did not know that,
okay.
It's sort of a Fijian cheers. So shells up, bula.
L'chaim.
Did you say l'chaim?
Yeah, I did. Absolutely. To life, son. To life. We're all living it, right?
So you wanted to know what it means to get muddy.
I absolutely. I want to get muddied so bad. It's not even funny. I've been wanting to get it took me a long time. It wasn't until recently when I watched you guys' show for the first time, like I said, that I got that muddied meant fucked up from kava.
It
means two different things.
Yeah, right. It's a play on. It's obviously the play on words.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's obviously the play on words with the muddied waters of freedom being that they're murky and we don't really have as much freedom as we think we do. And then it's also because when you drink a lot of kava, you get what we refer to as being muddy. We were just like, oh, this is just a perfect play on words that we can use here. Yeah. Which we can also thank the voice of the
I didn't
waters.
understand that until recently when I watched, like I said, I watched the first episode and I watched you guys and I was just like, oh, okay, this muddy thing, oh wow, they mean kava. And actually, if you go back to that, you'll see I typed in a comment.
I saw it when you typed it.
Yeah, where I was just like, oh wait, you guys are talking about kava, right? This whole moment in my head. And so I've never done it. So back in 2006, I didn't. So I personally, when I was young, I was a Christian. I was a didn't really do a lot of things. So I didn't start smoking weed until I was about 19 years old. So, and that was 2006. Honestly, that's what brought me into like Liberty and like Ron Paul and all that stuff, is because like he was the first candidate I saw that was like pro weed. Those still Republicans,
Yeah.
all these things. But anyway, we saw back in the day, because it was 2006 and we're living in Iowa, and like we want to get as much weed as we can, to smoke as much weed as we can, but we also want to have any other substance that can get us, fucked up. And so we heard about kava, and but then I never pursued that in any real way, because I obviously could get marijuana and then eventually, cocaine, all these other, drugs and all these other intoxicants. And now we were, as I think kind of as a society, like we weed's pretty available.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, are there better things available? And so, like, I think kava is one of those things. Like, I think kava is one of those things where it's like, maybe this is a better intoxicant. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that or safer. It depends. I know there are plenty of people in the community that have absolutely quit drinking alcohol and switching completely to kava.
Yeah.
I'm not really making a statement here. I'm just saying that is what happened.
No,
and that's a good thing.
There's a lot of people that have done that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have done that.
Yeah.
I was one of them.
Were you doing this because of you?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying don't say that.
Oh, no.
Okay,
no.
good.
They stopped drinking alcohol because of you.
I didn't know him when I first tried to quit drinking.
But there's another substance. What's it called?
Kratom?
It's kratom, and kratom's like great for people getting off the opiates or whatever. And
that's something that as a manager of a kava bar, I can't legally say that, but you're right.
Yeah. See the.
Oh, so is that where you work? I mean, I don't.
Yeah, he's the manager of Low Tide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I would suggest to like our listeners and even you, when talking about kava and kratom to other people, whether you actually consume it or not, to try and refrain from making
personally indicting yourself.
Personal statements are fine,
but
making
medical statements that this can help you to do X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely. Right. Well, actually, you know what? Since I have a platform, I've actually started doing this new thing, and you guys might even like it. It's this platform for veterans, and it's called Vets Prevail. I don't know if you've seen it on your Facebook. You might have, but it's actually like, are you familiar with CBT? You probably are, Muhammad. I don't know. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's for like PTSD. It's a cognitive behavioral therapy as a way to like deal with like things like anxiety or depression or PTSD or whatever. And so it's a silly little app, but you do basically these like I'm sure you remember, Muhammad. It was way before your time, Matt. You remember all those like online training courses that you had to take like yearly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
because they didn't have computers
like
when you were in.
Yeah,
I hate you.
They had rocks. They had rocks. He was transporting on boats. He was transporting very large slingshots. That's what you were doing, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
It was trebuchets.
Trebuchets. Yeah, exactly, right.
The guillotine day was the best day. That was good time.
Anyway, so Vets Prevail, right? It teaches you these CBT things. It teaches you like just things like, hey, oh wow, I'm upset because guess what? I watched a war movie. Like, holy shit, I'm so stupid that I couldn't realize that like watching war movies kind of triggers me. It makes me feel bad because like I saw some messed up things. But anyway, it teaches you all these things.
That's weird because I watched Black Hawk Down, so I enlisted with a Ranger contract.
Wow. You don't even want to know. Right? So my biggest regret my whole life, right? I'll tell you my biggest regret my whole life. So I went to Afghanistan, or I went to Iraq.
Yeah, tell us about your experiences and tell our viewers who you are.
Okay. Well, I'll tell all right. So I'll actually get into what we've been meaning to talk about today. after I get to tell my little story. Because I want to, my ego is really important.
I understand that more than you can possibly comprehend. My ego is more important than almost anything else.
Oh my God! Right? No, so I'm in the best shape my whole life. We're on this base called Marez and Diamondback. It's in northern. It's by Mosul, Iraq, right? So they've got this. The Army 2-mile track is like on the airfield because it's so flat, right?
Yeah.
So you can just run mile down, mile back. I ran it in like 13 minutes.
13?
Right? 13 minutes.
Holy shit!
So I'm killing.
Yeah,
I'm killing the game. I'm killing the fucking game at this point. Right? I got 100. I got a 300. My PT test, right? And my old boy. I was working in a staff at this point, and old boy that I was working under, he was a tanker, crazy E7, like the craziest E7 you ever met in your whole life. But one of those guys where you're like, okay, like I got your back, like I get you, but you know what I mean. And anyway, he had gone to selection, got selected, didn't go to Q course, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, and it's none of my business to ask questions why.
Well, there's a lot of reasons, yeah.
Yeah, right. But so I was ready. He was going to train me, and so I'm like, cool. So I was like, I'm going to go to the Ranger Regiment, and my what do you call it? The re-up guy is like, okay, yeah, cool. Like I can get you a contract for like the Ranger Regiment to be like a engineer in them. I go home, and I'm only dating her at this time. We weren't even married. This is my ex-wife now. But I was like, oh, what should I do?
Welcome to the club.
You rejoin the Army, right? Blah, blah, blah. And obviously, I'm on fucking mentor leave from Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, of course not. Like, get the fuck out of the Army as quick as you can, blah, blah, blah. And so I I send this guy an email. And I'm like, oh, no, I think give my Ranger contract to somebody else.
Yeah.
And, like, to this day, I'm like, oh my God, I could have been this high-speed, badass Ranger, you know what I mean? But at the same time, there's also that other side of, like, what if I had got killed? So that gets us onto what we're talking about today, is, like, going to Afghanistan. So when I was there, unfortunately, we saw a lot of special operations guys get killed. And you saw a lot of things. Like, I know you only went to Iraq, but, like, when you were there, and, like, I remember when I was there, I remember going home on leave, and when I was just in Iraq, and talking to these people who were going on leave from Afghanistan.
Yes.
And remembering like how different it was. You know what I mean? Because Afghanistan was always such this different thing, and this violent thing, this awful place, and we all knew it was this awful place. And then so I personally volunteered to go there.
Yeah.
And then I get there and it's like, oh shit! Like once I actually saw combat and stuff like that, I was like,
yeah.
This is super fucked up. And I saw like, things there. Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. Like you see somebody die, you're like, oh wow, okay, wow, that could have been me. Like,
yeah,
especially like we had this crazy. So we did route clearance, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So we drove down the road looking for bombs, and we eventually.
Well, were you attached to an EOD unit?
We weren't at all. And so at that point, because it was 2013, we had.
So you guys can do what EOD guys do?
Essentially, yeah. Essentially,
okay.
At that point, unless it was like what do you call it, NBC stuff, we could do what route clearance, or we could do what EOD guys did.
Okay.
So we could we would blow up IEDs, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we get called up, go down this road. Well, we knew it was a bad route. It was a black route. Like we knew we were gonna get fucked up going down it. It was so bad that like another convoy had to come down and get us. Like every conventional operation stopped to come get us.
Yeah.
It was bad. We had 6 IED detonations in the same day. Right? they went back to this place because it essentially was us next to some Afghani compounds on one side of the road, on the south side of the road, and on the north side of the road was just the open field. Well, the open field, they went back allegedly later, and I don't know how true this is because, it's the military. Everyone likes to exaggerate. They say they found like 83 IEDs there, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't know how true that is, but I come back. It's 2014. I'm in the reserves, and I had a job painting lines on the road.
Okay.
They call it restriping. So like if you go to like a Walmart, they have all the parking stalls, right, that are painted.
Sure.
So my company I worked for, they did that, right? So we go to this little town in Iowa to paint these lines. And we run into this guy at a bar, and I start talking to him, and he's an EOD guy.
You went to paint or you went to drink?
We went to paint. Okay,
Yes.
Well, we were being paid to paint. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Paid to paint. But then after we got done painting, we got to go drink.
No, of course.
Right? But anyway, so we run into this guy, and he's an EOD guy, and I'm talking to him. And he's like, oh, yeah, I was in Gardez, Afghanistan in 2013. And I'm like, the fuck you were? Like, then you were working with me. You know what I mean? And it turns out he was. And he was like, he came there like at the end, and like he stayed there longer than we did. So we started talking to him, and like, yeah, they actually went back and they found like 80 plus IEDs in this whole like 100 square meter area. Like,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
100
There's no
square
issue with me
meter?
doing that.
You mean
They
kilometer?
probably like 100. No, it was probably about like 200 meters up, 300 meters across, 200 meters down.
Okay.
So I guess that's what, like 1,800 square meters.
Okay.
I was like 100 square. Jesus.
Okay.
That's a bomb per meter.
Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
a veteran, so I'm still gonna like blow it out of proportion to sound cool. Right?
I caught a fish this big, I swear to
But no,
Christ.
anyway, so that brings us to what we were talking about today. Like, Afghanistan's obviously a crazy place, but there's also these things that have been certified to have happened, and one of those things has been this practice of bazi, and that's one of the reasons I came on today. So
What is
bazi?
Yeah, so what is that?
Boys. It's dancing boys, and so you have this very large population of Sunni Muslims, but they're also Pashtuns that live in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And these Pashtun people, they practice bazi, which is where they have young boys who essentially do sexual dances, and then one of the boys is prostituted out. And so you have like a 12-year-old to like an 8-year-old that's being prostituted out and getting fucked by all these different guys.
Yes.
And
That's
that's
awful.
what we're getting to.
Yeah. So, to our listeners, there was there is actually, I don't remember the date of the article, it might have been today, probably yesterday, about basically the headline was, what was the headline? It was basically stating that young boys.
The United States was paying for like sexual molestation of young boys.
Yeah, like they're looking the other way while this is happening.
Right.
Yeah, and I believe you and I had a huge disagreement with a certain person that was also going with that narrative and the article itself.
Well, so I don't.
Or what?
I don't necessarily disagree with his narrative. Like,
Okay.
he's right in some ways.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I was there. Like, I know that. So at a lot of these small bases, I know that there was sexual assault happening. But at the same time, so many people looked the other way because, one, they didn't understand that it was happening, and they only had a limited interconnection with these Afghani locals or Afghani military officials, right? And then the other thing is what can you do too? What do you do?
Well, can I ask both of you a question? I guess we'll
Absolutely.
Matt and then
Is that two questions?
Yes. I guess Matt can answer and then you can answer. And I'm not trying to I'm not ambushing you guys. You may have seen, actually both of you may have seen it. I asked a question 3 or 4 weeks ago on my Facebook page. You guys remember the story of Now, this has nothing to do with the question, but it got me to think of it. You guys remember the story of the young woman that egged her boyfriend on to commit suicide?
Oh whatever.
Okay,
I'm not super familiar, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So the girl up in like Massachusetts or whatever,
Yes.
who was like texting her boyfriend, and then he got out of the car, and they had a 45 minute.
Because
And she ended up getting charged with manslaughter.
Yeah. So when I read that story, and I saw a lot of the conversation going around about it, I was thinking about something, and this doesn't necessarily correlate to the story, but my question is, and this does correlate to this to the Bachabazi thing. Should a Good Samaritan be compelled to act? So, what do you think? As in, if a person is walking, this is just an example, if a person's walking down a shoreline and there's a person drowning, should that person by law be forced to act? And if they don't, they get some sort of doesn't matter, some sort of punishment?
Right now you are describing the Seinfeld series finale.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Okay, I haven't watched it.
God. Yeah,
so
that's exactly.
Okay, so
I was like, this is all right. He's describing Seinfeld. I got this.
Okay,
all right.
well,
I've got a frame of reference here.
Okay,
I have a prepared answer for this.
Okay,
I have a
okay.
prepared answer for this for like 15 years.
That's my question. I'll let you guys answer, and then we can go back to the soldiers and the Bachabazi. So I don't know. You can go off of this Seinfeld thing.
You can go ahead, man.
No, I don't think that there should be a Good Samaritan law that if you do not do something that you are then able to be punished for that crime. Much like in the Seinfeld episode, this guy gets mugged, and the entire group sees it happen, and they're laughing because it's this portly guy who gets mugged, and then he's like, I got mugged, and then he turns and he sees them, and he points and he goes, they could have done something, and all right, if you haven't seen the Seinfeld finale by now, you're probably not going to watch it, but they all end up going to jail.
Really?
Yeah, they all. Okay, that's how it ends.
I
They
like
all
this.
go to jail.
Okay.
And I was watching.
Spoiler alert.
Hashtag spoiler alert from 1996 or whatever.
Yeah, right. No, I watched that. I watched that IRL with my dad.
So I watched it too. Yeah, we had a huge party for it.
Me and my sister and my dad. We watched that IRL. But I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, no, there should not be a law stating that you need to help somebody.
Well, tell me what happened in this episode, because he didn't finish. So they all went to jail.
That's what happens. That's how it ends.
Was there any resolution to? Did they explain? Did in the show they explain if that was a good thing or not?
They actually go back to the very first episode, and where Jerry looks at George and says, you should button up that second to last button, not the top button. And they're just talking about buttons on a polo, and that's it.
Yeah, and then George admitted that he cheated. And then George admitted that he cheated in the masturbation contest.
Yes.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it actually goes way back to the first episode.
Yeah, they all just go to jail together, and then they're in the jail cell together, and then they just start having conversations about stuff that had happened, and then it closes with the very first line of the show.
So both of you,
which is about the button on the.
So you agree too, John?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, essentially, if you look at it from the point of view of okay, someone's being mugged, why is someone else being forced to intervene? Why? So if you look at you guys, if Matt was mugging you, why is my sister
that would not happen,
legally obligated to fight him for you, other than the fact that she is obsessed with you? Shout out to Sarah Lindley, because I thought I'd do it. But you know what I mean? Why is Sarah Lindley? Why is she why is she obligated legally to protect you when he could, in fact, kill her because she's protecting you? Why is that? There is no. I see no obligation for that.
Or going off. Also, my example: what if the person cannot swim well enough to save that other person, and that person now would also die in the act of trying to save somebody, I guess?
Is it every person's civic duty to put their lives in danger to save another person.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And no.
Well, I'm glad we're all in agreement on this.
No, there should absolutely not be a law that says that you need to do that.
Yeah. That and that I think and only partly answers the question of that article. If you look at it from that angle, then we should understand that it's if service members deployed to a foreign country don't do something, then they shouldn't be punished for it, because you can extend that to other countries too. Like, well, hold on. Let's say it's Afghanistan, Japan, South Korea. There's a slippery slope of if you don't have a status of forces agreement, and this person interferes in another country's affairs, that could drag the host country. Well, I'm sorry. That could drag the United States in a problem with the host country,
Right.
with the soldier now interfering with something that he should not be, interfering himself with. So, like, let's say he does do it, and as horrible and evil as the bachi-bazi practice is, if the Afghan culture at this moment and the government at this moment choose to turn a blind eye to this issue, and then we insert ourselves in what's going on, we might be dragged in a whole other problem now, because they might ask us to leave. There might be some kind of fallout with us trying to push our morals on them.
Right. No, absolutely.
Go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just going to say absolutely. Like when we did the missile strike on Syria, earlier this year, and all of us good liberty activists who were like, no, we can't be doing this. Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
The number one complaint that I got back was, but he's gassing the women and children.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, but to a lot of these people, I thought this. I didn't say it out loud, but I thought, if you were watching somebody get the crap kicked out of them in the street, you wouldn't do anything. So why is it the U.S., like, why do you think the U.S. needs to do something, like, is obligated to do something if you're not willing to do it?
Yeah.
Well, so there's two things I want to, add off of that, because what you're saying, Matt. A lot of these people that make any of these complaints about our foreign policy, unfortunately, have not served.
Yeah.
They've never seen it. They don't know what. I mean, if you look at the guys in the Liberty movement who are talking about chucking people out of helicopters, they don't have a goddamn idea of what violence is. They don't know what it's like to be shot at. They don't know any of they just don't get it.
I do gotta be fair about something, because I've made that joke before, and I can't speak for other people, but I do know that some people do definitely make that only as a joke.
I agree,
obviously others don't, but anyways.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like people that there is in the Liberty movement, we see this we see a lot of jokes about violence towards others, especially violence towards Islam.
Yeah.
But we oh my god.
And honestly, I've seen people advocating for that sort of thing in all walks of liberty. It's not just the alt-right. I've seen conservatives say it, which I guess is a given. But I've seen all types of libertarians say it. It's not just the alt-right. And it's we talked about it before when we had one episode where I went off on a rant about Islam. It was after, I think, one of the
London attacks.
Yeah, and crap, guys, I lost my train of thought.
See, and I have always gone with that argument that it's not our responsibility or our obligation and to go after these countries. To which, whenever I'm talking with my dad, he doesn't consider himself a neocon, but. Come on. His argument is always, so we shouldn't have gone and fought Hitler.
Oh my God.
Right. And it's kind of maybe we shouldn't have fought Hitler. I don't know.
No, but we didn't.
He was a dick.
We didn't fight.
We
didn't fight Hitler, but we didn't fight Hitler because he was gassing Jews. We fought Hitler because we got dragged into it when Japan attacked us, and then our allies asked us to then join in. Like all the genocide of the Jewish people during World War II was at the time. At the time, it wasn't known about.
Nice afterthought.
Yes, yeah. Like that was an afterthought when we went in.
Right.
So,
but like when we first went in there, it was nothing. I mean, like what we're doing now in like Syria or any of these countries, like we have there's no requirements for us to be there. There's no reason for us to be there at all whatsoever. And it's like we have these made up reasons in our mind, maybe, of ISIS is going to come take over. ISIS is going to take over, or you have to be like completely like you would have to have serious mental problems to actually believe that ISIS is going to take over America.
yes.
Right.
You know, like all of these foreign policy threats that we see nowadays mean nothing. Like they mean nothing at all. Like I may not like the American military. I may not want to be a part of it anymore. But that doesn't mean it's not really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, our Navy is fucking great. Like, they're fucking in every sea.
Yeah.
And they can project power to everywhere. Like, we have nothing to fear. And we still make up these enemies of Iran and the Middle East and all these places. And that leads to people like you and me, like, going to the Middle East and doing crazy shit. But then at the same time, it goes back to like this bazi practice.
Yes.
Where there's also fucked up shit happening in the Middle East. And so it's like, does that justify that practice? Does it justify you and me being over there? Right?
Right.
Right. No.
Right. Which I would say no to.
Is that right? Yeah, I don't know. Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know. He doesn't know he's an 88 kilo. He was a boat driver. Matt doesn't know, but maybe you know Muhammad.
Airborne.
Right? Yo, bro, I just jumped out of a plane recently, too.
Nice, dude. Congrats.
You're a 5-jump chump, but like whatever.
Well, also like there's an understandable fear from the right in the world, especially in the United States and in Europe. When it comes to Islamic terrorism, the bazi, and like, I'm going to ignore the terrorism thing for now. I've talked about it plenty of times, but in Islam, sodomy is strictly...
Yeah, Man Love Thursday.
Yeah, Man Love Thursday. Yeah, tomorrow.
Exactly. For sure, bro.
Sodomy is absolutely forbidden.
Right.
Also, so is... okay, so it's not spelled out to be forbidden in Islam, but it's not something that is sanctioned or a rule. Because this came up on CNN before with Reza Aslan, and a lot of people still talk about it with female genital mutilation that happens in a lot of African countries mainly. And people incorrectly assume that it's an Islamic practice when it's actually more of a cultural thing. It's the same thing with Afghanistan. Like, they kind of know they're Islam, but they really don't if they're doing the whole...
the idea of like Pashtun practice versus Islamic practice is two way different things.
Exactly.
Like Pashtun versus like, exactly. Like Islam versus tribal practices in the Middle East are two way different things.
Yeah.
I mean, if you start at Afghanistan and you start with Pashtun practices, and then you start going west. So you go to Iran, and then it's Syria. You know, it's what do they call them? Persians. It's Persian practices.
Yes.
And then you get to Iraq, and you know what I mean. There's all sorts of different tribal practices, and those are getting confused with Islam. And yeah, you see this bazi which is getting confused with Islam. And it's not in any way correct. And, like, yes, these Pashtuns have this really fucked up tribal practice.
Exactly. Yeah,
but they're in no way representative of all of Islam, because if you go to Indonesia, you're not seeing all this same kind of like patriarchal,
of course,
pedophilia.
Yeah,
Right. Like what? So it's like it's a way different thing. But you'll see the same like alt-right representation of like, oh, it's all of Islam is bad.
Yeah,
they all rape boys in Afghanistan, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's not like how it works at all.
Yeah, I mean, my personal practice is Southern girls, and it's not like you can just apply that.
Like I'm a Christian. I love Jesus Christ.
Roll Tide.
I love Jesus Christ in all of my heart and soul. But I love blonde girls with big tits more than anything in the whole world, right? And it's like it's hurtful. Like I know Jesus doesn't want me to have a harem, but I kind of think Jesus wants me to have a harem. You know, so it's like I don't know. I'm pretty likable. A lot of people are gonna like me. I'm white. I've done some stupid shit. I've done some crazy shit in my life, but still, people are still gonna like me. And yeah, right. Like I'm still gonna have nice white girls talking to me. But we look at Islam and we're like, oh my God, this one guy, or these people who have this fucked up living like lifestyle that we can never even understand.
Yeah,
engage these terrorist activities. And that paints a whole culture. Like that paints Mohammed Shaker from Florida, who is you know what I mean, a goddamn war hero in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like I'm an anarchist, and I'm like, yeah, this is my dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because
of our military service.
Yeah.
Right. Makes sense.
Not you, Matt.
I appreciate it.
You're an 88. You're a boat driver. Like, you have nothing. I'm not joking. It's not a joke.
Oh.
Like, I know he's laughing to make you feel better, but it's not a joke.
I get it.
God.
I get it. Hang on. I just got to mess with the volume here real quick.
He's turning me way down. He's turning me way down, guys. He says they're free speech. Free speech. Free speech.
Free speech. Oh God. Well, okay. We beat the dead horse out of the dead Bachabazi out of that one.
There's way more to talk about. You guys sent me something. Let's talk about the other things.
All right.
I'd love to talk about them.
Well, let's move on to the next topic. On Monday, rumors came out from certain unnamed senators that the Commander-in-Chief, President Trump, had a lot of disagreements with our God and Savior, Senator from Kentucky, Rand Paul.
Oh, Rand Paul.
Trump was unhappy that Rand Paul isn't basically stopping at let's repeal Obamacare, because Rand has came out as he's really always been against Obamacare, and any version of the bill that would include taxes and entitlements to private insurance companies,
right?
And
any sort of
individual mandates.
Right.
Yes, bailouts and individual mandates. So he multiple times he's called a lot of these GOP bills Obamacare light, which I would honestly say it's not a really Obamacare light. As we've said before, it sounds more like just Obamacare, almost more even.
Right. It's Obamacare Plus or 2.0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Trump didn't like that Rand Paul was going around saying this and being super anti these Obamacare blight bills. And then Rand Paul came out on some show. I don't remember the name of the Fox News, I think. Obviously,
it was the morning show, right?
It was the morning show. Yeah,
I think it was MSNBC.
Okay, yeah, They have him on a lot. That's pretty interesting.
Do, yeah.
Which I think that's pretty awesome that Rand has.
He's super smart. He's very savvy. He's very savvy in how he presents himself.
Yeah, but you see how like he's really powerful for a junior senator.
Well,
and like people listen to him. The president,
a junior senator with a race behind his belt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The junior senator with like national level, appeal.
Yeah. The president. He's got the presidency
he has
here.
Power on it. Oh yeah, absolutely, he has power. Everybody has power. I don't know if you guys remember this. So there was a SNL. This is when this was like my peak Rand Paul moment. Was when Mitch McConnell became was the Speaker of the House, right?
No.
Some shit.
What's
Mitch McConnell?
The
majority leader, right?
Majority leader of the Senate.
Yeah, Senate majority leader. All right, so he it was on SNL, and when Senator Mitch McConnell had like some sort of a whiskey dinner with Barack Obama.
Yeah.
That happened, right? That was a real life.
I believe so. I remember.
These are real things that have happened.
Yeah.
Apparently in this timeline. I gotta make sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they get drunk progressively. They prank call Barack Obama. Eventually, they call Hillary Clinton, and this is about 2014, 2015. And so they call, and they're like Rand Paul 2016. Right? And they make it clear that Rand Paul is going to be the Republican ticket holder.
Uh-huh.
This is way back in like 2014, 2015. Right?
Right.
And this was like when I first got on board with Rand Paul, because I was like, oh shit, like the deep left. I mean, we're talking deep left if it's SNL that is like shouting out for it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, oh shit, like he actually has a chance. But Rand Paul, I mean, he's, for the most part, kept it together and stayed liberty-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He has faltered a few times, but for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not doing bad. I'm not mad at him. I'm kind of mad at him, but I'm like, I can't be. I'm as mad as anybody could be. And if I'm going to hitch my wagon to any rising star, like, it's going to be him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, what's your opinion on this whole healthcare debacle?
Can you say that word one more time?
What's your opinion on this whole healthcare debacle?
There it is.
I'm not from this country.
Okay,
sometimes the accent come out, and I don't know.
Is it some sort of Pee Wee Herman, like word of the day thing?
Say debacle one more time.
Debacle.
There we go.
No, I think honestly, I mean, I don't know what we can do at this point. Like, I don't even know what you could do as a senator, a Republican senator, even a liberty-leaning Republican senator like Rand Paul. I mean, no matter what, you're going to see some sort of healthcare that's more fucked up than it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a free market guy, so my opinion is you need to get rid of everything. Like the biggest problem started in the 1950s when they said healthcare is attached to your job. Like, you know what I mean? Like, once you started any sort of subsidy for the healthcare industry, it all went bad. You know what I mean? So I want
and
completely out of that.
Yeah.
But it's like at this point where we're way beyond that, what do you do?
Yeah, well, and
what's the payoff from it?
Yeah, and Senator Paul did talk about that because he was saying how he would vote for a bill that he would vote for a bill that wasn't a complete repeal as long as it didn't include bailouts and mandates. But he also said the perfect solution, in his opinion, which I'm sure we all agree with since we're free marketeers, is he says he wanted repeal and replacement, and because he says repeal is not enough. You go back to when it was all messed up, and then it stays there, which obviously then gives the left an avenue to start forcing Medicaid for all and all that. But he was saying that there needs to be a replacement that frees up the market even more. So allowing people to join associations and so on and so forth, whatever his plan is. It's really been the same plan for a while. So yeah, you're right. He would agree with you. He wants repeal of Obamacare and to replace it with an alternative to make the market easier on insurance and healthcare, you know.
But we're just not going to see that. We're just there's no way we're going to see that at all. And it'd be nice, it'd be cool. Unfortunately, healthcare is not going to go the way that the majority of Americans want it to go.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. Like, they were talking about just repealing it, and what's that guy's name? I can't stand him. He does like
Gary Johnson?
No. No. Radio guy. Mark Levin?
Yeah, Mark Levin is a radio guy.
Yeah, Mark Levin was on Fox News the other day saying that, I know, shocker, saying that we just need
Wait, are we famous enough to get on Fox News? Am I going to get on Fox News because of you guys?
Yes.
Oh, well, what the fuck? Yeah, all right. I was about to say, what the fuck? Why am I talking to you guys? Kidding.
But yeah, he was on Fox News the other day, and he was saying we just need to repeal it because if we repeal it, it'll create a vacuum in which the insurance companies will come in and flood the market with cheap healthcare for everybody.
To an
extent.
I mean, there is a problem with healthcare in this country.
Right, there is a problem with healthcare in this country, but if we were to repeal Obamacare, and we were to open up, deregulate being able to sell across state lines.
Oh my God. But there's regulation upon regulation upon regulation we have to repeal to get to that point. Where, I mean, we're going back to the 50s of when we first were like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
Insurance is connected to your job. The 50s. Like, we have years worth of legislation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, also,
how do we get rid of that?
Well, also, there's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with insurance being connected to your job either, because I mean that's.
I disagree personally.
Well, because Ford, when Ford revolutionized, part of his little industrial revolution thing.
When he started doing the 40-hour work week.
Yeah, he added a lot of things.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so there's nothing wrung if the market allows.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The market allows.
Just so we're okay.
Right.
Unfortunately, what happened was they said it's required. And what do we?
Yes,
what do we hate?
I agree with
Any sort of like So like that's the thing. It's like Ford being like, hey, of course I'll pay for you guys health insurance. Like that's just another incentive for people to work at Ford.
Right.
But then it's all of a sudden everybody has it, and then all of a sudden you have this, government's paying for healthcare, and then boom.
Yeah.
You're in an entirely different place, and you have to get rid of that from the get. And we're talking about like going back like 15 steps before we ever figure out healthcare. And like, I mean, that's the problem, unfortunately, is like where we're at is like 37 steps ahead of like we have government involved in it. And it's like, oh, if you want to, like, I mean, yes, of course, we all love the free market. I'm a huge free market guy. Like, I think the free market is the best way to figure out health insurance or whatever. You know, we're so far past that point that it's like, how do you get to there? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And before we move on to the next topic, I did want. It's a great. It was a series that was televised called Free to Choose.
Oh, man, I thought you were going to say Star Trek, and I was just going to say, no, we're not doing that again.
I'm on Deep Space Nine right now.
I made some really good jokes on this page, actually, about Star Trek. So
yeah. free to choose, and it was Milton Friedman just giving lectures.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. There was one lecture, I believe. It might. I don't know if I got the right lecture, but it's one of my favorites from that series called "Myths That Conceal Reality." And I think in that lecture, I know it was Milton Friedman, and it was during that series. He said that back during the 50s, like you're saying, there was no public there was no public mandate for things like Medicaid, Medicare, and our Social Security.
Right.
So if I suggest everybody listen to that lecture. It's really great. But let's move on to Seattle since we have 5 minutes left.
Right. So Seattle did a ballot initiative last year, which passed, not surprisingly, where it turned out that each resident of Seattle would receive in the mail a $100 voucher, which
it was they get 4 vouchers worth $25.
Yeah. Oh, is it 4 vouchers for $25? Okay. But they would get
Can you guys hear me pissing? Is that the thing?
Yeah, we can definitely hear that.
Which is absolutely fine on this show.
Blown away from it. I don't know. I mean, whatever.
Anyways,
This is what happens when they have call-in gas guy. Alright.
But they would get 4 vouchers for $25 or $100 voucher, $100 worth of vouchers, paid for by a new property tax that they could donate to any political campaign of their choice. And this is everybody. This is the people.
yeah,
The property tax is just...
yes,
So this is for anybody. This is the homeless people who actually are still registered that pick up mail
Yeah.
somewhere. And to the people who don't own, to the people who do own, to the people that own a lot. Everybody's going to get their $100 worth of vouchers, and it's all being paid for by this new property tax that they put forth.
Yeah.
And the liberals in Seattle are saying this is great, and the conservatives in Seattle, like all 4 of them, are going, no, this is messed up. Like you can't do this, and they are battling it right now. It's passed. I mean, it is law in Seattle, but in my personal opinion, this is an awful idea.
Of course. Something else I did see about this whole initiative is to actually gain access to these vouchers, a person running for office needs to have 400 signatures.
Just 400?
Yeah, well, 400 signatures plus $10 donations per those. So 400 signatures, and every signature must have $10 accompanying it. Which obviously the really big problem. There's 2 really big problems here. The first one is the First Amendment and the right to remain silent, because we have the right to say what we want, but we also have the right freedom of association or disassociation.
Right.
And you're forcing people that, on top of that, you're forcing people that don't want to vote or be involved into having their money taken to go towards other campaigns that they may not even want to be a part of.
Right. You have the people that don't want to be involved at all, who are like, I don't care about politics, I don't care about any of this. Their money is now being used for these things. And then you're going to have the people who their money is going to be used to pay for candidates they don't support, and that goes both ways.
Exactly.
Both conservative and liberal. Their money will be used to fund other people's campaigns that they don't like. And then since it's on a property tax, they're cutting down the number of people who are actually putting into the fund, just based on how many people can really own property in Seattle versus how many people live in Seattle. And certain people are just going to be getting these $100 worth of vouchers for not putting anything in to the system.
Yeah. Well, and on top of that too, it makes local party without even naming any, because it counts for all, local party establishments stronger, because the Republican establishment, Democratic establishment, there is a Libertarian Party establishment, Green Party establishment, that are very entrenched in their communities. It gives them access to a buttload of money that they wouldn't have had access to otherwise, making it harder for fresh faces to come in and compete for this funding.
Right.
So somebody like, let's just go with our local example, Charlie Crist, our congressman that replaced David Jolly. And this works for both of them. Let's say
both of them are awful.
Yes, yeah. And let's say Jolly wants to run again, this would keep out the Tea Party type conservatives, and
how so?
I don't know, other type of Democrats that are not establishment.
All right, so here's my thoughts on it. Like, stay back, obviously. If you're like looking at this like idea on a nationwide level, like you're talking about like people who essentially they should not be able to run because of no one likes them. Like, at the end of the day, like, no one likes them. Well, they shouldn't be able to run. They don't have enough support.
They can run and fail.
Whatever.
They can run and fail. Yeah.
Exactly. And this puts them to that level where, all right, so you guys may not be aware of this. There used to be this thing called the straw poll in Iowa. Are you familiar with that at all?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, so in my personal theory, I could be wrong. There are some other people who have said this, is that the only reason Donald Trump was the candidate was because the straw poll got canceled in Iowa, right?
Okay.
Because the straw poll, essentially what it did is got rid of a lot of lower tier Republicans for the presidential race, right? So with this additional money, because we're talking about a lot of money, these voters can run. You're having shitty candidates who have no place being involved in a race, who are now involved in a race. You know what I mean?
I mean, sure, but
it's like, what do you? Does the government have a right to decide who is in on races?
And should taxpayer dollars be used to?
No,
exactly.
Right, and that's where I say no.
Yeah, obviously, and
bad candidates.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
well, obviously, and we can like even just stop it at that. But if you just take it further, the local establishment is Charlie Crist. So if you ever been,
I don't know Charlie Crist, but do you want me to fight him?
No, but if
that might be considered a hate crime.
If you go to like Republican executive, a county Republican executive committee meeting, or the Democratic one, like the established candidates have a lot of sway and know everybody, and it would be
for sure. Yeah.
So it's a lot easier for them to get 400 signatures and $10 donations,
right? Which
then means all of this extra money is going to go to the establishment and not to these fresher faces that they think it's going to help out.
Well, so 400 signatures isn't that hard to get, and to get $10 out of somebody, that's not that difficult. Like, you can just say, "Hey, give me what you got." If you got $10, that'd be awesome. If you got 20,
right, yeah. So once again, like, I hate to interrupt again, but like, okay, so I move around a lot. I'm like, just because I love doing political shit, but also because I work in the marijuana industry now. But I was back home in Iowa, and they had a city council race. It was up for grabs, right? And it was probably going to be 800 people at most that were going to vote for it. So all it took, it was me going out and getting 800 people, like, the signatures, right? And then going out and getting 800 people to vote for me, and then all of a sudden I'm their city council representative, right? And I don't actually care about the Knoxville city council. I probably would have been a bad city council representative. But having this perverse incentive of all it takes is blah, 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 such and such rate, and then boom, you have this much money. Boom, you have this or whatever. Like, that's not going to make better candidates.
Yes.
No.
No. Yeah.
Candidates
Well.
like
Yeah.
me.
No.
Right.
You're going to get candidates like me. I'm a bad candidate. I'm a bad person. I'm not going to be a good city council representative for Knoxville, Iowa, right? I'm going to realize, oh, shit, I can get $100,000 for my congressional race. All I have to do is meet this threshold.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what they're doing in Seattle.
Yeah.
These exact kind of thing. They're empowering people like me, and I'm a bad person.
Yeah. No. I get what you're saying.
Right. No, absolutely. But all in all, like the fact that they're using tax dollars to fund political campaigns is wrong.
It is. Yeah.
It is wrong. I think that if it were to be challenged, I think that it would eventually get shot down.
Yes.
Personally.
Okay, but there's also we were also looking at that on a federal level already, though. If you can on your tax dollars, you can check something that goes to presidential races or whatever. There's already I don't know necessarily that's the emotion. I don't know if that's the problem with that.
Yeah.
Right.
For tax dollars are going for it. Our tax dollars are going for killing children.
Yeah.
Right.
We're mad that our tax dollars are going for politicians in Seattle. Our tax dollars are going for killing babies.
Yeah.
We can't be mad about that. You know what I mean? We can't be mad about that.
I mean, we can be mad about all of it.
That's true.
That's also you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we should be mad about it. We should be. We absolutely should
Right.
be.
We should be mad about all of it, not just. We shouldn't be okay with our tax dollars going for killing children, but mad about what
We can do
Right.
both. We
Right.
can do both.
Right. I can have equal hate for both of those ideals.
Yeah, you're right. All right, you're right. You guys are pretty good. I fucks with y'all. I'm so happy you guys let me on the show. It was an absolute pleasure of mine.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, no, we're glad you came on.
Over you,
You're fine.
You went way above and beyond. I really appreciate it. And I'm so happy you let me do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
we're definitely glad you
absolutely.
came on. Definitely glad. But that's actually pretty much all the time we have.
We can close out now.
Yeah. We will be back Saturday, probably early, because I have to go somewhere Saturday evening on the opposite coast of Florida. So I just got to get Muhammad here early.
Okay.
Remember to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Muddied Waters of Freedom. You can follow us on Instagram at Muddied Waters of Freedom or on Twitter at Muddied_Waters. And remember, you can check out our website for all of our episodes, the articles that we've written, and you can get these wonderful t-shirts at muddiedwatersoffreedom.com.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Again, special thanks to John Lindley for showing up today. And Sarah Lindley, if you are still watching, Muhammad is single. And I don't know how old you are or anything, but Muhammad is single, and he is definitely looking to mingle.
Yeah.
So if you want his number, PM me, and I'll give it to you.
Oh, my God.
And again, thanks to Low Tide Kava Bar for the kava, and one last quick bula.
All right.
All right, bula.
Bula? All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. And as always, remember where we're going.
We don't need roads.